Imagine, it's the end of the night, you're preparing for your nightly routine before turning in. The kids are getting ready for bed, the dog's been put out, you're just about to go upstairs. And that's when it happens. You hear a loud pounding on your front door. Before you even realize what's happening, a gang of armed thugs come bursting through the door. They methodically go through your home, quickly rounding up your wife and kids. Some of them train their loaded weapons on you and your family, while others ransack your home. And imagine, while screaming horrible obscenities, they violently restrain you and your wife and drag you out to their getaway vehicle, all while your children watch in terror. And imagine, they kidnap you and lock you both in cages and demand a ransom. This actually happened to my sister and her family. It was a truly harrowing and life-changing event. And as bad as that story is, it's actually a lot worse than it sounds. Because you see, this atrocity was sanctioned by the state. The armed thugs in this story were the police. And my sister's crime for warranting this Gestapo-like invasion was that her husband was growing a plant in their basement. He was growing a marijuana plant. According to the ACLU, in 2010, 52% of all drug arrests in this country were for marijuana. Today, I'm going to persuade you to see that the United States war on marijuana is an immoral war, and because of its inhumane punishments, racial bias, and disregard for science, it's one that must be stopped. Not only is the fact that over half of all drug arrests in this country are for marijuana, the ACLU also states on their website that most of the people that they're arresting are not drug kingpins, but rather people with small amounts of pot. They're arresting people like my brother-in-law. Now, my brother-in-law was a sales rep for a Fortune 500 company. He'd been married to my sister for nearly 20 years at the time of his arrest. He's an exceptional father. His 3 children are respectful and well-adjusted kids that get high marks in school. He's a good guy. He's a guy that chooses to smoke pot before he goes to bed at night because it's the only thing that helps with his debilitating insomnia. Insomnia that he suffers from due to the memories of experiences he had while fighting for his country in Afghanistan. And for that, they locked him in a cage and took away his kids. Now, my sister and her family are not the exceptions. In fact, Moby Secret writes in an August 2011 article in the New York Times, hundreds of New Yorkers who have been caught with small amounts of marijuana or who have simply admitted to using it have become ensnared in civil child neglect cases in recent years. Taking children away from otherwise decent parents is not only inhumane and traumatic, it has no place in a free and civilized society. My sister's and her family's lives will forever be affected by that one night. The once upstanding citizens are now outcasts in their community. My brother-in-law lost his career. They had to sell their home. Their life savings is almost totally depleted. And my educated and experienced brother-in-law is still looking for a decent job. And unfortunately, this is quite normal for someone in his position. According to Stephen Raphael of the advocacy group Institute for the Research on Poverty, over 60% of employers that were surveyed said that they would probably not or definitely not hire someone with a record. It is insane that these inhumane drug laws have not only ruined my sister's life, but they've taken a tax-paying citizen that pumps money into government coffers every month and turned him into a burden of the state, relying on the taxpayer to take care of him and his family. In addition to going through this experience and becoming unemployable, he is also now being deprived of his fundamental right to vote. He no longer has the right to go through the legal channels to change the law he's convicted of committing. Amazingly enough, according to the Sentencing Project, 5.85 million Americans are denied the right to vote due to felony convictions every year. In many states, even after rehabilitation, this fundamental right is not restored. The animalistic nature of this immoral war also casts a dark cloud on the race divide in this country. According to the authors of Pot as Pretext, Marijuana, Race, and the New Disorder in New York City Street Policing, blacks and Hispanics are far more likely to be arrested on drug charges than Caucasians, despite the fact that drug use among these ethnic groups are about the same. The abhorrent and vile nature in which we treat nonviolent marijuana users that commit victimless crimes that affect no one but themselves must be abolished. We treat these people like we treat murderers and rapists, all because they ingest a substance that, in my opinion, is arguably less harmful than the beer in your refrigerator, the oxycodone in your medicine cabinet, or the cigarettes behind the counter at your local Walmart. Even David Nutt, a professor of neuropsychopharmacology, states in the Journal of Psychopharmacology that a direct comparison of alcohol and cannabis showed that alcohol was considered to be more than twice as harmful as cannabis to users. In fact, famed American neurosurgeon Dr. Sanjay Gupta says that marijuana can be a far safer alternative for alcoholics. We supposedly live in a free and fair society where the punishments should fit the crimes that are committed. This is just not the case when it comes to marijuana in America, as long as the government continues to take away children employment opportunity and the rights of offenders, and as long as the government continues to use marijuana to oppress minorities, and as long as the government continues to ignore the science behind the effects of marijuana, we will never live in a free and fair society. A society in which widely recognizes that the greatest and most powerful country in the world has a leader, President Barack Obama, that admits to smoking pot in college. Our own president openly admits to his drug crimes as a youth. However, if when he was smoking pot in college, he had been caught, arrested, and convicted of those crimes, those convictions surely would have prevented him from becoming the President of the United States. So what message are we sending our children when we tell them that we will lock one man in a cage like an animal for ingesting the flower of a plant, and we will elect another to the office of presidency for doing the same thing? Thank you.